New Jersey has 127 miles of Atlantic coast. Governor Whitman, how important are our beaches and our ocean waters to the economy of this state and our well-being into the future?
Oh, extremely important. I mean, tourism is a huge part of our economy, and the shore is the biggest part of that. People come from miles around. I mean, anybody who lives in Pennsylvania, it seems to me, everyone I run into has always had a shore house. They've been at the Jersey Shore for part of the summer. It's a wonderful tourist attraction, and it's discouraging to see now we're getting more of things washing up on the beach and sanitary sewer overflows impacting the beaches. We need to keep the waters clean so that people can enjoy it, and for the most part they are. And it also provides we're able to reopen a whole slew of shellfish beds because that's a part of our economy too.
Do you think reasonable steps are being taken to improve, enhance, protect the beaches, the fishing industry, as you've mentioned, which is part of our economy as well?
In general, we still need to do a lot more for sanitary sewer overflows and anticipating as the climate changes, which it is, we can argue over why, but it is, you get increased sea level rise, which means every time you get a big storm, you get more sea level intrusion further back in, and that changes the nature of the ecology in the wetlands and the marshes surrounding, and it means that the next time there's a big storm and high tide, say a king tide, when you have a full moon and a high tide at the same time, and if you get a storm then, it's going to come much further back in. That draws out, besides being a threat to the homes that are there and the people who live along there, it also means that you have saltwater. When you have saltwater intrusion, that kills a lot of the vegetation that's natural there, and it means the next time it can be worse. So it builds on itself.
In terms of development, New Jersey has certainly allowed dense development in our coastal areas, very close to the ocean waters. How important is the monitoring of that as we move into the future, and the consequences if we don't do it properly?
Well, that's one of the places where we haven't done as much as we've needed to do. I mean, I was hopeful that after Sandy that we would have learned a lesson and been more aggressive, and we haven't been. And I go down to the shore and you see communities that have rebuilt exactly the way that they were before. Part of that is a problem with having the federal government in insurance, because they basically, with FEMA, pay people to build back the way they were where they were. It's not always saying you can't build back there, but it's saying if you do build back where you were before, you've got to raise them. There's certain precautions you have to take. Otherwise, it's all of us as taxpayers who end up paying for this redevelopment if it's done wrong.
What role does science play in all of these decisions to safeguard these assets?
Oh, you've got to rely on science. You've got to rely on what the scientists are seeing as far as anticipating the sea level rise, anticipating the frequency of storms, the severity of storms. What they tell us becomes extremely important for planning. That's why we have to look at climate change, because it's happening. We know it's happening. We see it happening. We've seen storms. They may not have all been here on our coast, but look at what's happening around the world, and it's something that impacts all of us. And so we're foolhardy not to take this seriously, sit down and say, okay, what can we do to mitigate what's coming at us? And it's about being smart about understanding cost avoidance, that by spending some money now up front, we can avoid spending a whole lot of money later on to deal with the consequences of not taking action. I mean, there really is a price to pay for not taking action.
Governor Whitman, thank you very much for sharing your views.
Pleasure.